Hi, and thank you for joining us again on the road to recovery. I'm Ronda Jackson, your host, serial entrepreneur and small business advocate. And today, fellow entrepreneur and small business champion, Kimberly Frelow joins me. Hi, Kimberly.
Hi, Rhonda. This is so awesome. Thank you for having me. I
Oh, thank you for
appreciate
being
that.
here. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. This has been a wonderful, interesting, not wonderful, but interesting time in our lives. And we're constantly evolving as entrepreneurs, as you know, from your 20 plus years of experience as an entrepreneur. What word would you use to capture or to share with us about these times? What one word would you use?
My one word would be faith, Rhonda. There's a lot of fear that people are having, as I can imagine, with the economy, with parents at home teaching students, with all of us trying to figure out what the new normal will look like in our future. And for me, it's just faith. Keeping faith that for each of us, there's a plan and a purpose through all of this, and a faith of opportunity to come in the future and that we will be fine. So
Yeah,
mine is faith.
I love that word. And that word means a lot, especially with the conversation that you and I are going to have today. You and I talk, for years now, I've known you, but we talk specifically about sharing where the opportunities are right now. Because I know that people are looking for financing through some subsidies and things like that, but there's also opportunities that we can create for ourselves as entrepreneurs. So I really appreciate you taking the time to share that. So can we talk about where do you see these opportunities? You have some really great insight.
Well, I'm this former small business manager for the school district, LA Unified, and I still receive tons of emails that I've been passing along to as many folks as I think it would be beneficial to. So those opportunities still lie in large corporation. They definitely lie here in Los Angeles and Southern Cal with our public agencies. Metro continuously has their conversations around, doing business with Metro. LAUSD is still doing construction, so if you're a contractor. But I truly believe the biggest opportunity right now for as a growth strategy is to start educating yourself to move forward in government, in the stream of public agency and government business, as well as if you've never done business with corporations, really taking the time right now to educate yourself on how to do that business.
Okay. I'm glad you brought up the word education because there's a lot of myths and misunderstandings around doing business with large entities like local, federal, and state agencies. Can you
Yeah,
share maybe some of the common myths and myth busters that you might have encountered?
absolutely. So there's this one big myth around all of these diversity goals that you and I are very familiar with, and our audience may or may not be familiar with them. But diversity goals in business are small business enterprise, women business enterprise, minority business, veteran, disadvantaged, etc.
Yeah.
The myth is that if I qualify in one of those areas, I receive a contract. I
Oh,
receive a grant to start my business. I've had this conversation on a number of occasions with people. The first question they ask is, Kimberly, is there a grant? There are grants for nonprofits. If
yes.
you are a for-profit business, you will not receive a grant because you're small to start your business. In order to qualify in some of these preference programs that do exist for those different diversity goals, you must become certified. And
Okay.
don't know that. They think just because they look small or they say they're small or they look like a woman or a minority that they automatically qualify. So you must become certified.
Okay, so that sounds like there's some steps that we should probably take as businesses that want to get into that arena or look at that. On a few of the other episodes, we've been talking about how to pivot, how to reinvent yourself, and create a new customer base. So if we look at government contracting, state, local contracting opportunities, can you maybe outline a simple growth strategy or a plan for entering that market?
Yes, and now is a good time because, as you know, having gone through that process, it takes a lot of time. You have to educate yourself, and oftentimes, as an entrepreneur, you are a single person operating your business, so you're doing everything. So most people will hire someone to take these steps. Step one, as I said before, is education, and I think the best way to get education now is through the professional trade industries, ones that represent the Latin Business Association, the Black Business Association. Metro, as I said before, really honing in through their newsletters and participating in those virtual meetings. That would be step one, getting the education. Step two is looking into the process of certifying, right? Like actually going on the Department of General Services certification portal or Metro or LAUSD and really seeing what that certification looks like. And then lastly, being certain that you know what it will take to actually participate, which means that you have to have a certain amount of capital and personnel working through consultants in order to participate.
Okay, so what I heard you say was the certification, and especially where it's applicable and where you qualify, and then also to look at actually participating in the bid process, which I think a lot of entrepreneurs and small businesses shy away from. So there is that process, and the educational component to understanding what that process looks like. And I'll be sure that we share some of the links to the agencies that you mentioned in the description box down below, so people can access that information. But then I also, if you can, we break down just for a second the last component, because capacity as a business, to me, that sounds like it equals the success of whether or not you're going to perform well on that contract. Am I hearing what you're saying correctly?
Absolutely. So I was going to mention more about participating in the bid process, right? Because in order to participate in the bid process, you do need to understand the qualifications. Oftentimes, in order to be successful, you need to understand if there's any labor compliance or prevailing wage or any of these other terms that you're not familiar with. So being educated, attending some of these virtual meetings, you can hear that information and prepare yourself. But I think the biggest area that folks really need to be really conscious of is that capital, right? Having money available to participate and not jumping in, you want to take the leap of faith, but they're small contracts. I mean, LAUSD does $2,500 contracts every hour, it seems like, right? So you can participate in small contracts as opposed to going in and getting the multi-million-dollar contract. That way you can build your capacity in your capital as well as with your personnel. And then if you're a goods person like you, Rhonda, if you're delivering a good, you have to read your contract. You have to know that if you don't deliver in certain timeframes, that you could actually be penalized. So it's really paying attention to that growth strategy of education first, and then once you're starting to participate, that you take the time to be prepared.
Okay, and this seems like a really good time for business owners to get that education and look at that information with a little bit limited space that we might be in right now because of the times. So then see, now you got my mind filled. I'm so excited. So what immediate tip would you give for increasing capacity? So I heard you say that there's, capital needs, and also it sounds like, we might need to expand in some places in order to meet a contract demand. What immediate tip would you give for that to help us out with that?
So I think immediately I would look at where my business could fit, right? And you and I have talked before about these ideas of teaming, right? So one immediate step I would take is look at maybe a company that I think would be of interest that I could, my particular service or product could fit in. Mm-hmm. Right? I would do a little bit of research to see who may be some of the larger contractors that are already working with them. And through LinkedIn or through just basic email, people are available. You can actually start having dialogue with folks who you may want to actually do business with and maybe create like a teaming situation or a direct push to an owner or a regional manager. But I believe right now is the best time to really look at where you could fit. Where does your business fit in the bigger structure of that growth?
Okay, and just for clarity, by teaming, you're saying that if I sell tires and another person sells air, we might get together so then we sell tires that have the air in them for the customer that needs that.
So yeah? Let's give a better example. Because
okay.
We are all purchasing, if you're like me, from Amazon.
Yes.
Okay. Right. Amazon has programs for small businesses. Okay. So Amazon would be the large corporation. Let's say you're a transportation company.
Yes.
Right? They have opportunities for small businesses to possibly be one of their transporters. So you're actually teaming to be to work with Amazon. That would be one example. If you're a contractor and you're a painter, right? You could team with a large painting company to actually work on a large, at the airport, for example.
Yes.
So that's what teaming is all about. And I'm glad you made me clarify that so people can really get a better sense of how that works.
Yeah, no, you sound like, there's a lot of information that you're sharing today. So I'm looking forward to adding those links to our conversation down below. I guess I will ask you one more question if you don't mind. Do you have the time? Are you good on time today? Okay. So then what should we do today? So you've given us the 3 steps. We're getting certified. We're educating ourselves. We're looking for ways to build capacity by teaming. What should we do today, tonight, before we lay our heads on our pillows?
Right now, before you lay your head on your pillow, Rhonda, you met me because of networking. I'm big on networking, right? I think today, if you have not looked at any of these agencies that we talked about, Metro or any of the professional organizations, if you do not have a LinkedIn, do that tonight. Set up a LinkedIn, go on one of these websites, get their newsletters, see when they're going to have their next conversation, because these conversations are awesome conversations and they're telling you exactly what it takes to do business with them.
Yeah, what they'll need and when they'll need it. Thank you for that, Kimberly. Thank you for joining us on the road to recovery.
Able to provide some insight.
No, very much so. So hopefully I would just like to extend the extend the invitation. If you get more information, more insight, or can provide further resources, you'll just stay connected and reach out that you'd be back on the show for us.
Absolutely.
All
and
right.
Congratulations to you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm here to share, here to be of service. So
Yeah.
thank you for that. All
Thank
right.
you for having me.
Oh, anytime. Thank you, Kimberly.